Howdy, Dennis Bradford here. Let's think some about being, feeling, and doing better. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj was another great 20th century sage from India. We've seen that both an apprehension and an evaluation are essential parts of every emotion. Both apprehensions and evaluations are thoughts. Therefore, if we detach from thoughts, we automatically undermine all unwanted emotions. Nisargadatta is yet another sage who recommends that we attain non-attachment by detaching from thoughts. This is a no-brainer if you want emotional peace. Why? It's impossible to be blissfully happy while being simultaneously emotionally distressed. Detaching from all thoughts automatically undermines emotional distress while opening up the possibility of lasting bliss. Nisargadatta, 1897 to 1981 Christian era, lived in Bombay, India, and taught non-duality. I first learned about him years ago when my Zen teacher recommended his book, I Am That, to me. Notice that Nisargadatta's book title is an identity judgment. I am everything. Since, as we've seen, all dissatisfaction comes from separation, if I am everything, there is no separation. Therefore, there is no dissatisfaction. Living without dissatisfaction is living well. Nisargadatta, 1897 to 1981 Christian era, lived and taught non-duality in Bombay, India. What follows is a representative sampling of ideas from his book. I encourage you to read it for yourself. How does the life of a sage differ from the life of a non-sage? Quote, my life is a succession of events, just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and move along with them, end quote. Non-sages have yet to realize that, quote, all your problems are your body's problems, end quote. Dropping the identity judgment that I am only this body automatically dissolves all worries about, quote, food, clothing, shelter, family, friends, name, fame, security, and survival, end quote. We are not the forms we single out. The very act of perceiving shows that you are not what you perceive. What you can point out as this or that cannot be yourself, end quote. Furthermore, quote, it is enough to know what you are not. You need not know what you are, end quote. Conceptualizing separates. Quote, the mind, by its very nature, divides and opposes, end quote. When we stop conceptualizing, when we stop attaching to thoughts, we stop creating separation. Since separation creates dissatisfaction, we stop creating dissatisfaction. Quote, desire is the memory of pleasure, and fear is the memory of pain. Both make the mind restless, end quote. So, detaching from desire and fear promotes peacefulness. Conceptualizing creates, quote, many contradictions. You do and undo at every step. You want peace, love, happiness, and work hard to create pain, hatred, and war, end quote. We get caught in our nets, our conceptual hierarchies, and all we have to do to remove them is to see that. When the mind is quiet, we come to know ourselves as the pure witness, end quote. We are not what we witness. We are doing the witnessing. Realizing that is the purpose of meditation. It's, quote, to shift the focus of consciousness beyond the mind. Refuse all thoughts, except one, the thought, I am, end quote. What am I? The witnessing self. This is neither the mind nor the personality. Quote, the self stands beyond the mind, aware but unconcerned, end quote. Finding our real self is required for true happiness. Quote, true happiness cannot be found in things that change and pass away. Happiness comes from the self and can be found in the self only, end quote. So, how should we live? Detach yourself from all that makes your mind restless. Renounce all that disturbs its peace. If you want peace, deserve it. You must watch yourself continuously, particularly your mind, moment by moment, missing nothing, end quote. This witnessing is essential for the separation of the self from the not-self. Quote, go within and discover what you are not. Nothing else matters, end quote. Identifying with the impersonal self dissolves the self or person or ego, as well as attachment to the body. Quote, in reality, there are no persons, only threads of memories and habits, end quote. When we, quote, turn away from the experience to the experiencer, end quote, we, quote, realize the full import of the only true statement you can make, I am, end quote. This inward turning is blocked by desiring anything. Quote, desirelessness is the highest bliss, end quote. All we need to do to live well is to meditate well in order to detach. Meditation will help you to find your bonds, loosen them, untie them, and cast your moorings. When you are no longer attached, you have done your share, end quote. Instead of identifying with the objects of consciousness, you will be the source of consciousness. Quote, to know the source is to be the source. When you realize that you are not the person, but the pure and calm witness, and that fearless awareness is your very being, you are the being, end quote. That's a sage describing sagehood and how to get there. Even short of sagehood, when we experience emotional distress, when we are intensely fearful or lonely or ashamed or angry, stop identifying with the emotion. Instead, step back and realize that really, instead of being the emotion, instead of attaching to it, we are witnessing the emotion. Emotions come and go. The witness remains. I am not attached, end quote. Do that with each unwanted emotion, and you will enjoy emotional peace. We don't have to become sage to do that either. Let's end emotional distress.